A huge thank you to our video sponsor, Hunting Clash, for iOS and Android. Before we get into today's story, a huge thank you to our video sponsor. Hunting season is in full swing, but now in the comfort of your favorite chair. Dust off your gun and travel to distant locations and observe animals in their natural habitat. Ready to hunt? Let's play Hunting Clash, a colorful and surprisingly realistic, next-generation hunting simulator and shooting game. This game has been a lot of fun to play. Hunting Clash is a fast-paced game where players can level up and unlock new regions and challenges. Hunt or be hunted while going head-to-head with others through different events every week, including a daily championship event that groups a set of players together to compete in a mini-hunting game. From Montana to freezing Kamchatka, or on African safari, you'll find every type of animal imaginable, from deer to elk, grizzly bear to wolves. Also the ability to choose and upgrade weapons. Playing the game is completely free and is available for download and play on iPhone, iOS and Android phones. Download the link in the description and use my gift code, HUNTWITHLIONHEART, to get a special reward for new players, and with this gift code you will get 100 in gold, 70 skill tokens, to upgrade your preferred skill and to get more points when hunting. 1 mythical lore from the Montana grizzly bear, along with 1 mythical lore from the Montana mountain lion. Both, so you can hunt bigger and more dangerous game. A total value of $15. To redeem your gift code, download the game through the link and follow the simple steps and settings. Then enter the code. You'll be all set to get started on your first hunt.
"119 men would be awarded the Medal of Honor for their valorous actions during World War I. That war had been grinding on for 3 years by the time America got involved. When Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, the entangling alliances of European nations were set on a course for war on a scale never before seen by man. America sought to remain neutral in the early years of the war. American weapons manufacturers were free to sell arms to either side in the war, though in practice, the British blockade of Germany meant that American goods reached only Britain and her allies. President Woodrow Wilson strove to maintain America's neutrality and sought to broker a peace deal between Germany and Britain. Wilson was re-elected in large measure because he had kept America out of the war. But Germany's policy of unrestricted submarine warfare pushed Wilson and the nation too far.
The present German submarine warfare against commerce is a warfare against mankind. It is a war against all nations. American ships have been sunk, American lives taken.
Further outraging Americans was the revelation of a telegram from Germany's foreign secretary to his ambassador in Mexico. The Zimmermann telegram, as it is known, invited Mexico to join the war as a German ally. In return, Germany promised to aid Mexico in recovering territory it had lost in the United States 70 years earlier: Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. After the Zimmermann telegram and Germany's sinking of 7 U.S. merchant ships, Wilson asked the Congress for a formal declaration of war.
The challenge is to all mankind. The world must be made safe for democracy. Its peace must be planted upon the tested foundations of political liberty. We have no selfish ends to serve. We desire no conquest, no dominion. We seek no indemnities for ourselves, no material compensation for the sacrifices we shall freely make. We are but one of the champions of the rights of mankind.
U.S. Congress declared the nation at war with Germany on April 6, 1917. Neither Britain nor France believed that the U.S. could raise, train, equip, and field a sizable force in the time required. And time was not on the side of the Allies. At this point in the war, the Allied forces were collapsing. The German U-boats, now granted unrestricted use by German commanders, were sinking 500,000 tons of British goods a month on a path to starving the nation. French military divisions were in open mutiny, with tens of thousands deserting. They were revolting against being fed into the meat grinder that the war had become. But although America had a small standing army, the overall population was over 90 million strong, larger than Britain and France combined. And in May 1917, Congress passed the Selective Service Act, and the Army grew quickly. America would send 2 million men to fight overseas, but it would take time to get those men ready. Although the first American troops would arrive in Europe in July 1917, it would be almost a year, May 1918, before U.S. forces would see combat. But in those final months of the war, American soldiers saw firsthand the carnage that European fighters had been living with for years. One group of those American troops was the 93rd Infantry Division, composed of 4 all-black infantry regiments. All 4 regiments were loaned to the French, who were in desperate need for troops to replace their losses. This was considered a temporary arrangement, but it lasted through the end of the conflict. The men of the 371st Regiment were draftees from South Carolina. They arrived on the Western Front in April 1918 and began training with the French. In the summer of that year, they served as part of the French Fourth Army and participated in the occupation of the Verdun sector. In September, the 371st moved with the rest of the French Fourth Army to take its role in the Allies' final major offensive. Beginning in late summer 1918, the Allies had launched a series of assaults along the Western Front, now known as the Grand Offensive. Initial victories had pushed back the German defense. At this stage of the offensive, at the end of September 1918, the Allies sought to smash through the Hindenburg Line, a vast network of German defenses in northeastern France. The Hindenburg Line included trenches, concrete bunkers, and machine gun emplacements, heavy belts of barbed wire, and tunnels for troop movement. The German High Command believed it could not be broken. The 371st Regiment, serving with the French Fourth Army, would join the assault on the Hindenburg Line along the Meuse-Argonne front. They were acting in support of the American First Army, with command coordinated between the French and the U.S. forces. The Argonne offensive would be successful, but would come at a high cost. The 371st would suffer over 1,000 casualties, more than 40% of the regiment. The regiment proved American soldiers, regardless of race, would stand firm under fire and fight to win. By its actions in this offensive, the 371st earned honors from both the French and American forces. The regiment as a whole was awarded the French Legion of Honor and the Croix de Guerre. 10 individual officers and a dozen enlisted men were also decorated with the American Distinguished Service Cross. And one corporal would show such valor that he would be awarded the Medal of Honor. Freddie Stowers was the grandson of a slave. He grew up in South Carolina, and when he was drafted into the Army in 1917, at the age of 21, he left behind a wife and a daughter. In the early morning of September 28, 1918, what was to be the last day of his life, Corporal Freddie Stowers served as the squad leader of Company C as they prepared to take Hill 188 in the Champaign-Marne sector. Major Joseph Pate, commander of the 1st Battalion of the 371st, wrote later about the action that day.
This was about 5:45 o'clock, and the fog was quite dense in the valleys. The company commanders were assembled in a nearby dugout, where I explained the situation with the aid of a battle map and issued verbal attack orders.
A German officer had just surrendered with 35 of his men, saying that they had been left behind to defend the hill, but were unwilling to throw their lives away for a lost cause.
This information, coupled with the opinion expressed by the French battalion commander, led me to believe that we had a very easy task before us, and I so informed my company commanders. The assault platoons of C Company moved out as skirmishers. At a point about 300 yards in front of the trench of Hill 188, the left platoon of C Company was forced to cut its way through 2 very heavy systems of wire, in the face of some fire from defenders from within the trench.
Barbed wire had become a critical part of the defensive warfare of World War I, and infantry always carried wire cutters with them. As some men of Stowers' C Company worked on the wire, other members of the company returned fire, providing cover for the wire cutters.
Within a few minutes, the Germans ceased firing and began climbing up on the parapet of the trench, holding up their arms as if wishing to surrender. Our platoon commanders ordered their men to cease firing as the Boches were surrendering. Our men promptly ceased firing, and the battalion again started forward. And when within 100 meters of the trench, someone within blew a whistle, and the Germans who had been standing up on the parapet immediately jumped back into their trenches, and C Company was greeted with interlocking bands of machine gun fire and short-range mortar fire. The leading platoons of C Company were almost annihilated, including both platoon commanders. This was a genuine surprise to all of us, and the battalion was flat on its face without waiting for orders.
Corporal Stowers' Medal of Honor citation describes what happened next. With extraordinary heroism and complete disregard of personal danger under devastating fire, he crawled forward, leading his squad toward an enemy machine gun nest, which was causing heavy casualties to his company. After fierce fighting, the machine gun position was destroyed and the enemy soldiers were killed. Displaying great courage and intrepidity, Corporal Stowers continued to press the attack against a determined enemy. While crawling forward and urging his men to continue the attack on a second trench line, he was gravely wounded by machine gun fire. Although Corporal Stowers was mortally wounded, he pressed forward, urging on the members of his squad until he died. Inspired by the heroism and display of bravery of Corporal Stowers, his company continued the attack against incredible odds, contributing to the capture of Hill 188 and causing heavy enemy casualties. Corporal Stowers' conspicuous gallantry, extraordinary heroism, and supreme devotion to his men were well above and beyond the call of duty, following the finest traditions of military service and reflecting the utmost credit on him and the United States Army. Freddie Stowers is buried at the Meuse-Argonne American Cemetery and Memorial, not far from where he died. Corporal Stowers' commanding officer recommended him for the Medal of Honor soon after this action. For whatever reason, this recommendation was not processed. Some believe that this was due to Stowers serving in an all-black regiment. However, 3 other black soldiers were also recommended for the Medal of Honor. None of these men received that award, but they did receive the Distinguished Service Cross. Whether their valorous actions were given less merit because of their race is an open question, but since they did receive a prestigious honor, unlike Freddie Stowers, it is at least plausible that the paperwork for Stowers' recommendation was misplaced. Decades would pass, and Stowers' bravery faded from memory. Then, in 1988, 70 years after the Argonne Offensive, the Secretary of the Army ordered an investigation into the possibility that any African American soldiers had been denied a Medal of Honor due to their race. During the course of this investigation, the original recommendation for Corporal Stowers was found, and after a careful study of the actions taken on September 28, 1918, the Army Decorations Board approved the recommendation. And on April 24, 1991, President George H.W. Bush presented Freddie Stowers' Medal of Honor to his surviving sisters in a White House ceremony. 10 days after the actions and the death of Corporal Stowers, another man would display gallantry and valor that would result in a Medal of Honor. His actions also took place during the Argonne Offensive, and like Stowers, this man was a corporal. The world remembers him better, however, by his later rank, Sergeant York.
A huge thank you to our video sponsor, Hunting Clash, for iOS and Android. Don't forget to download and play Hunting Clash. Follow the link in the description. And play on.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.